evening, everyone, and welcome to the 14th Literary Universe podcast. In today's session, I'll be investigating the role of storytelling, specifically its connection to the human experience. In order to conduct my analysis, I'm joined here today with renowned authors Kirito Johnson and Cece Lamperouge. Welcome. How are you both feeling today?
Good evening. I'm quite enthusiastic to share my perspective.
Same with me.
That's great to hear. Now, I see here that the texts you wish to discuss include Noel Pearson's eulogy for Gough Whitlam and Shakespeare's Merchant of Venice. One centres on a personal and satirical approach to Whitlam's impact on the Indigenous, whilst the other is described as an anti-Semitic play set in the Elizabethan era. In relation to the topic, could one of you provide a reason for these choices?
Well, to put it simply, both texts provide diverse examples of skillful storytelling that I believe resonate with the human experience.
So, these texts have been selected not only to reflect on the role of storytelling, but also its diversity?
Exactly, which leads me to my first point, if I may. Whether it be a passionate speech or a 16th century comedy, storytelling evokes the respondent to empathise with unique perspectives. This allows them to comprehend certain behaviours or motivations never expressed before. Characterisation within The Merchant of Venice is deliberately constructed by Shakespeare to demonstrate varying human perspectives and behaviours. From the Christian's point of view, Shylock's persona imitates a hateful religious Puritan and deceptive villain. In Act 1, his impression is deliberately representative of such traits to emphasise Antonio's experience of a Jew. I hate him, for he is a Christian. His dialogue then further escalates, intertwining cannibalistic imagery to heighten drama. If I can catch him once upon the hip, I will feed fat the ancient grudge I bear him. Shylock's metaphorical feeding fat is suggestive of an unlikable impression of bloodlust that conveys the mindset of an antagonist. As a result, the audience feels a form of justification for Antonio's contemptuous remarks towards Shylock earlier, such as the devil can recite scripture, a biblical metaphor for Shylock's deception. Hence, Shylock's overly dramatic portrayal of an antagonist causes us to sympathise with the experience of the Elizabethan Christian perspective. Similarly, in Pearson's speech, we're engrossed into his personal experience, transported from the tired seats we host to a realm of history from Indigenous perspective. He begins at birth, establishing a setting through metaphor. Born estranged from the nation's citizenship into a humble family of a marginal people striving in the teeth of poverty. Poverty's teeth bears Pearson's perception of his childhood to be struggling against the metaphorical beast, allowing the audience to visualise the experience and encourage pathos. Like the Christian's perspective of Shylock, the Indigenous perspective is also portrayed through archetypes, but on a personal level. My home was an Aboriginal reserve under a succession of Queensland laws. Personal pronouns indicate sentimental value and possession. Queensland itself appears condescending and domineering. The alliterative phrase, a cold and capricious bureaucracy, further demonstrates a dramatic depiction of Queensland's racial laws, illuminating Pearson's strong opposing emotions. Hence, with such techniques, we are able to delve into another's experience through skillful storytelling that provides a dramatic, personal, and emotional portrayal.
That's an intriguing point to make. One of a story's main purposes is to immerse ourselves in the position of another. Speaking of which, another common goal of stories I wish to discuss is to further provide us with a grasp of who we are as humans. Is this a fact supported by the two texts? Let's hand over to Cece.
Absolutely. Both stories also result in a form of truth which collectively deepens our understanding of humans and their experiences. Appearance versus reality in Merchant of Venice is a theme that reflects a human's tendency to judge others without knowledge of their experiences. In Act 1, the audience is initially led to envision Portia as a petite woman, abundant in cash with allusion to the golden fleece. Her sunny locks hang on her temples like a golden fleece, and many Jasons come in quest of her. This glamorous depiction is then contradicted with Portia's true nature in Scene 2. An example being, so is the will of a living daughter curbed by the will of a dead father. Her reality is discovered to be pitiful and an involuntary state of confinement with abundance rendered to insignificance. Shylock, on the other hand, appears rather vulgar in Act 1. I hate him for he is a Christian, but more for that in low simplicity, he lends out money gratis. Yet, in Act 3, Shakespeare victimizes him as a product of severe racial abuse. Hath a Jew not eyes? Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions? The dramatic effect produced from the constant building of similarities evokes us, the responder, to reflect upon the question in why we as humans constantly judge others despite our similarities. In summary, Shakespeare's implementation of this dichotomy, appearance versus reality, is utilized to further heighten our identification of such common human behavior. Likewise, Pearson uses storytelling format to distribute truth in relation to humans. His creative techniques and the narration of Gough Whitlam's deeds assist in establishing the importance of human empathy. Constantly we're reminded of Whitlam's strange, non-biased and empathetic nature through metaphors such as, "He harboured not a bone of racial prejudice in his body." He also then states modern Australia to have emerged like a technicolor butterfly from its long dormant chrysalis. This is a simile which utilizes powerful imagery to demonstrate what human empathy can produce. The butterfly analogy itself is symbolic of equality and empathy's power splitting free from its cocoon of prejudice and ignorance. He also connects the audience's personal experience to heighten the impact of Gough Whitlam's empathetic actions. I share this consciousness with millions of my fellow Australians whose experiences speak in some way or another to the great power of distributed opportunity. This is a collective statement that produced a few million nods for all those it resonated with. Its collectiveness allows us, the audience, to identify and place ourselves in Pearson's position, hence perceive truth in empathy's importance.
So, to summarise, regardless of textual form or modality, storytelling shares a uniform relation with the human experience. Its manipulative perspectives allow us to explore different human behaviours and emotions whilst developing a further understanding of humans themselves. This explains its timeless nature and how humans witness and are influenced by stories from a young age.
Precisely.
Well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for today. Thank you for listening in, and thank you, Johnson and Lemperouge, for sharing your intellect with us in today's session.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.